back, everybody. Today's video is something a little different. If you guys follow me on Instagram, if you don't, go to Instagram and follow 406 Garage, turn on the notification bell. I only do that because we post our trucks up there all the time and all our stories, and sometimes our newest YouTube videos will post a link. So follow us on Instagram. That's a helicopter. Thanks. Just trying to do a video here. Thanks. Anyway, there's the 46 Diamond T. That video is coming up shortly too. You guys are gonna love that. One owner, original title, unbelievable story. So that video is coming up, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, today's video is some friends of ours from Texas. Their company's called CP Addict, CP Addict, CP Addict. Anyway, it's Complete Performance is the name of their business. And they came up here for the No BS OBS truck show over in Brooks. You guys remember that? Devin, my friend, and John Carrick, and OBS Solutions, and all those guys, Kenny. Anyway, on their way up, they had wanted to stop here the last couple years and check out the shop. And this year they were able to do it. So they stopped here, and they spent the better part of the day here. Like, I think they're here for like 6 hours. It was awesome. We went around and talked about trucks and told stories and heard stories about their trucks, and it was awesome. Anyway, they filmed it with their camera and their video guy, and they did their own edit and made their own video. But we're going to post the video here for you guys so you can watch it. So this is not a video that we produced, it's their video, but we're going to post it for you guys, and then I'm going to link down below their YouTube page, website, and all that stuff like that. Go give them a like and a visit. They're great guys. OBS Ford trucks, 81 to 97, that's their shtick and what they do. So hope you guys enjoy this. Like I said, not our video, but we wanted you guys to be able to watch it anyway, so we're going to post it here right now. Enjoy.
We are headed to Ben Palmer's place, 406 Garage.
Ooh.
The international harvester guru.
So this old boy bought this truck brand new, and he had a big ranch out there. And this is original paint, original interior. And the first week he had it, he gave it to the ranch hands because they were going out to use it, and they were doing fencing, they were moving cows and all stuff like that.
Jesus.
First week they had it, the ranch hands backed into a freaking fence post with it and smashed the door right there. Now, the owner was out of town for a couple weeks while they were working. So they took off the stock bumper, built this behemoth steel rear bumper that just, I mean, I think probably weighs 400 pounds. And put a hitch on it and did all stuff like that. They mudded all this up, went down to the dealership, got some paint, sprayed it and whatnot. And the owner,
never knew
for like years, never even knew about it. Fast forward like 25 or 30 years, my buddy Scott bought this truck from that farmer. And so it was his daily driver. He's driving it to work every day. Well, he had it parked out in front of the repair shop, and this is 1991, 1992, you know, so this is 30 years after this truck was built. This old boy comes walking in his shop. Now, mind you, this truck lived 350 miles to the east of where this shop is. This old boy comes walking in overalls and stuff, and he's clearly like a farmer rancher. And my buddy Scott, who owns the shop, he's up at the front desk. The guy comes up and he's like, "Is that yellow Travelall out there? Does that belong to somebody here, or is that a customer's?" He's like, "Well, it's mine. Why?" And he goes, "Want to know where that dent came from?" And he's like, "How do you know where that dent came from?" He's like, "I used to drive that truck on the ranch." He's like,
I'm the one who did it.
He's like, "You are kidding." And so he proceeded to tell him the whole story of how the ranch hand backed into the post and they fixed it.
That's awesome.
He's like, "That's why it has the bumper." Well, so we tore the bumper off eventually, and I put the regular bumper on, and then Rigged is one of my affiliate sponsors and the good buddies of mine, so they built me the ultraswing for the back of this. And yeah, it's just kind of evolved. And I grew up in a travel all. That's how this whole thing started.
Kind of like with us with the OBS stuff.
Yep. So we grew up with a travel all, a car top boat, and a 21-foot tandem axle chassis trailer, coming over, going camping and fishing and hunting. And so this has a lot of memory for me because I rode in one of these my entire childhood.
The fact that you have one that's not got rusted fender wells and all that stuff, because these, man, you know, but these things rust so bad.
You walk around here, you'll see very few that have any rust.
That's man. This I wanna find a 3/4 ton travel all so bad.
It has every single factory option except bucket seats, but I actually have the bucket seats for it in the back. I just had them redone. So it's a barn door, 3/4 ton, factory PTO winch, big block, power steering, power brakes, AC, camper overloads, trailer tow package, power steering cooler, trans cooler. I mean, it was like deluxe interior. It had everything you could possibly put on it.
Like, I know this one's not for sale, but something like this, what would it sell for?
Probably 30, 35. That green one went for 55.
Jesus. Why?
Because there wasn't a flaw in the paint, there wasn't a flaw in the interior, and you could jump in it and drive it to New York City. They're getting to that. The really nice ones, like I've had plenty of people offer me 35 for this, and I'm just like, no, I can't find another one.
You're right.
That's
yeah, you have to
problem.
replace it.
One of 1,500 of 50 trucks, basically. If you Marty report it down like that type of deal. And this has got 182 or 184,000 original miles, and it's like the guy built it to haul equipment and old tractors. He was a repair guy, and then he was also a gasser hot rod racer in California.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and we use it all the time. That's what we use to go rescue trucks all the time.
Especially with the 34 weight in it.
Yeah, it ain't fast, but there ain't nothing it won't pull. There's no hill. You never even have to take it out of high gear most of the time on the hill. He absolutely worshipped and loved this truck. And you can tell, you can tell how well he took care of it. It's just a beautiful truck.
But did you buy it from him or did you buy it?
So his widow, he passed away 10 years ago. His widow sold it to his best friend, who continued to haul his gassers and hot rods and stuff like that with it. Never transferred the title, enough my exes. I bought it from him, and technically I bought it from her because she came the day we bought it. Because she wanted to know where it was going and who it was going to. Sure. It wasn't as much for them about the money as about where it was going and how it was going to be used. Right place.
Yeah. She knew you weren't going to make profit out of it.
Right. No, I don't ever want to sell it. I told my boys when we bought it, I said, you guys got to figure out what to do with this when I'm done.
You bought it so you'd have your own fire truck just
I bought
in case.
it. I literally bought it because it adds to my collection. I wanted to have an international fire truck, but I bought it for fire protection. It actually saved me money on my insurance, my homeowner's insurance. Yeah, because I have a fire truck on site.
So they don't require, the homeowner's insurance didn't require anything of you to?
Oh, they required pictures and everything else, and I could show that I had taken volunteer firefighter training, all that stuff, so I knew how to use it. But yeah, it knocked 250 or 200. Railroad used some too, yeah, because they were crew haulers, because you could put 6 guys in it easily. Oh yeah. I'm sorry? Some stories about this. I had a bunch of firefighters reach out to me, and a couple of the guys, one of them was a captain. He said, I know those trucks. He said, I know the options on that. He said that was probably one of less than 100 they ever made because it was one of the most expensive ones with the winch and the four-wheel drive and everything like that. So they bought the truck, and then they went to the fire company that had it outfitted, the upfitter or whatever. When it was all said and done, it was $136,000 in 1975. Now
That's why you don't find most of these in the South. They just didn't have the funds for it.
And now the funny thing is, if you do the math to today's money, that's like $550, $600 grand. That's what these trucks cost now. That was absolutely what they costed back then, which is just mind blowing.
This thing is probably my favorite thing you've got in your entire collection. I've always wanted to buy one of these things.
I wanted to buy one for like 10 years. I could just never find the right one.
Was this a US Forest Service truck?
No, it was,
we were just talking about.
Sorry, I missed that.
No, it's okay. It was Mount Shasta City, California originally. It was a brush fire truck for Mount Shasta. It was built for Cal Fire, and then it transferred to Corvallis, Oregon in 1984, and they ran it all the way till 2016.
Oh wow!
So it's only got 10,000 miles on it.
It's got a pump on the back, so you don't use the truck engine to pump with.
That's super cool.
Yeah. And everything's fully functional, 100%. 100% everything works.
How did you find this thing?
Facebook Marketplace. It's a big block international gas with an Allison automatic, and it weighs 18,000 pounds with no water in it. So when we're coming up the hill, it did 17 mile an hour. That's it. As fast as I could go.
Hassling.
17 miles an hour. But man, it was slower than snot rolling down a frozen window.
Huh. Well, you know, I've always been looking for an excuse to buy a fire truck, so.
You don't use excuses. You just go and do it.
I mean, we did buy 2 rail trucks just because.
Yeah, and we don't even have a railroad.
Yet. Find this truck.
They called me. Lady, her husband passed away. Go watch the video. I did a video. I told the whole story of this truck. We got it. It hadn't run in about 10 years, so we did plugs, wires, cap, rotor, all the fluids, all the filters, diff covers, T-case, sandblasted, powder coated the wheels, new tires, polished the hubcaps, new brakes, new suspension bushings, got Bilstein 5150s all the way around, redid the power steering, put the sliding rear window back in. She had it, but it wasn't in. Put the antenna back on. These are actually factory on the build sheet grab bars. Put those back on.
Wow.
Yep. And just made it a driver. I've got an Alaskan camper in there I was going to put on it at some point, but I never did. Anything that I've ever had a duplicate of, I have this truck and then I have the step side, the cowboy truck, and they're not the same truck, but they're kind of the same truck. And it's like, this is a fleet side, that's a step side. I wanted to have one of everything. I'm just a hoarder like everybody else is.
Have you seen the pictures of our shop?
Yeah, oh yeah, no. Yeah, we're all in the same.
You don't have to.
We all go to the same meetings.
Yeah.
But
Our chips aren't working anymore.
yeah, I will regret selling it because I know how hard it is to find another one. It really is. Especially, this is my favorite year with the 69 and 70 Girl is my favorite. This is a 2-year only color, the green metallic. I had a 69 and I sold it, and it was the nicest one I'd ever had of these, and it was a manual. I sold it to the gentleman that built my Peterbilt, and I thought I'd never find one. And 2 months later, this lady calls me on this trip. So this one, but I will say, this one actually isn't as nice as the one I sold the other guy. And it was original paint too. It was a 69, it's a 1-year only, it's called metallic, or a copperhead metallic. It's a copper metallic color.
Oh,
it's a 1-year only color.
I bet that's really nice.
So, and it was a big block with a 4-speed, but it had manual steering, manual brakes. This is an automatic, power steering, power brake, camper special, overloads, power steering cooler, tranny cooler. This thing had everything.
All
yeah, slide out bumper. You know,
slide out
bumper.
Yeah, you pull the pins and you can pull the bumper out. So if you have an overhang on your camper, like a 10.5 foot camper,
cool.
your bumper can support your camper.
I think this would look good parked next to my green 71.
This is a 7.
What would Jade say?
She'd just tell me, sure, why not?
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah.
Workbench, and I picked up the antenna and came over. Sure enough, just screws right on. She goes, "Let me tell you a little story about that antenna." I said, "Please do." She said, "My husband loved this truck so much, and he drove it every day, and it was his pride and joy. And we'd go down the highway, he'd take that antenna and he'd tie it to the camper. But when the camper was off and he would park it in the garage at the house, every night when he came home from work," she goes, "I always knew when he came home because he pulled up in the driveway and he'd go to drive in the garage and bam, and smacked the siding on the side of my house." And she goes, "There's a mark where it was just taking the paint off." She goes, "So God rest his soul, when he died, I took that son of a bitch off and shoved that truck in the garage." And I was like, okay.
yes, ma'am.
And she said, "And then I had the siding redone and I had it repainted, and you never even know he did it." She goes, "But that's my little hitch with that antenna." And I was like, all right. With the truck, that bed was built in 77.
Well, and that's-
100%.
And I figured you probably already knew, but when I started looking at it, I was like,
But I've never heard the story about the helicopter.
Yeah.
I've heard about the planes. I've heard about building roads over the marsh. Anything. I had a couple guys that were CBs that told me about building roads over sand and soft areas where they had to drive the troop carrier trucks and the deuce and a halves and stuff like that.
Yeah, they put that down because the skids would slide on that. 'Cause
Right.
they could get forward momentum,
Sure.
but they couldn't get flight. So the jet engine was pushing them down that, and they could, with the extra force of the guys pushing, they could catch airspeed and eventually catch liftoff. And by the time they flew to where they were going and flew back, they were light enough that if they landed in, a rice paddy or whatever, they could take off there. Because they, just like Pete.
Just like Pete.
Don't turn me upside down, man.
Yeah, that's how you lose. Sheets or something like that. He goes, he went in there. I think he paid like $150 or $200 for like 200 sheets of it. Jesus. He goes, he built that flatbed. He built a trailer. He used it for horse panels. He's like, he used that stuff for everything. He was just crafty.
Well, it's freaking thick.
Well, it all interlocked together. It doesn't.
And then he welded it.
It doesn't hold any dirt or mud.
Correct.
because the dimple die lets the mud slide off
Yep.
of it. That's why they used it in Vietnam, is it wouldn't stick to the mud.
Yep.
Even if you landed a Huey on it, it wouldn't push it far enough down in the mud that they couldn't get it back.
So what was also interesting about this guy, and what ties me to him a little bit even more, is he built a equipment business, a vintage equipment business. So his business was he would go out and restore and repair vintage tractors, crawlers, backhoes for farmers that had old equipment, stuff from the 40s and 50s and 60s. He would come out to your farm, he'd load it on his truck, take it back to his shop, do whatever you wanted him to do to it, and then he'd bring it back to you on the truck and unload it at your farm. That was he built his business. It was kind of right up your alley. So that's,
Yeah, I've been following this project.
so that's 2012 Super Duty underneath that.
That's awesome.
So this has I've gone through 3 different iterations of engines for this, and I've yet to put a motor in it. I've owned this truck for 10 years, it's never driven. We just did all the suspension like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and got that all done. But I bought this truck to make the donor for this truck. That's a 6-liter with a 6L80 with a manual shift T-case. So then I got a DT 360 International 5.9
Oh,
turbo
yeah.
diesel with an Allison. And I was gonna put that in. And then I got online and found like 10 or 12 or 15 guys that have taken a square body International and put a DT 360 in it with an Allison. I'm like, all right. And then I watched this video from Rich DeBoss in the DeBoss garages in Canada. And he stuck a 3126 Caterpillar in an OBS Ford.
Yep.
We sponsored that truck.
Did you?
Yep.
Oh, cool. I don't have an opinion one way or the other about the guy. I just like what he
Sure,
did.
yeah, absolutely.
And I know where there's a 3126 Cat with a 6+1 Spicer manual transmission.
That'd be badass.
And it
awesome.
weighs less than the DT360 does.
And you got such a big engine compartment in these
Right.
trucks that you can put whatever you want in
So
it.
I think this winter we're going to put a 3126 Caterpillar in it. This is actually the Ford frame rails. We cut the front of the International off, and the Ford actually lined right up. We just fish plated it and sleeved it. And then we cut the front of the Ford off, and we built all this from scratch so I could hang all the factory sheet metal, core support, and everything else back on.
You really wouldn't be able to
awesome.
tell from the outside.
And you
Well-
put some paint on the frame rail, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell either.
That
Especially
when
with
you
the
shove
engine
a
in.
motor, you shove an engine in here, you're not gonna be able to tell.
Now, what's funny about this truck, and as you know from following me, every one of my trucks has a story.
Sure.
So I bought this truck 10 years ago out of a barn about 12 miles away from here. And this truck was originally 2-wheel drive, 3/4 ton long bed. It came out of Arizona originally.
That's
When
why
I
it's
went
so rust free, huh?
and straight. Well, it's been here since, it's been in Bend, Oregon since 82.
Oh geez.
Yeah, he bought it in 82. So he had a 74 Travelall, and he was going up to Alaska, and he blew the motor up in it. So he came back from Alaska, had it towed back as an old boy. And they went down to Arizona for the winter like they always do to go snowbird. Saw this on a car lot, drove it home, gutted it, fixed the Travelall, pushed this into the barn. So in 82, he pushed this into the barn with no drivetrain. And over the years, his kids who wanted to go buy beer started pulling pieces off of it and took pieces to the scrapyard.
Oh my gosh.
So it had no rear axle, had no front axle, had no driveline, had no tranny, had no brake booster, and later on when I got it, no hood. Took the hood too.
How the hell did you find a hood that
We're
matches this wheel?
getting to that.
Okay, all right.
So I go over driving down this road and I see this Travelall parked at this farm, and I stop, knock on the door, ask about the Travelall, not knowing this truck even existed.
You were just like, hey.
I said, hey, if you ever want to sell a Travelall, and the guy that met me at the door is about our age, and he said, yeah, Dad's getting older and he's having some trouble. We're kind of cleaning up the property. We are going to be selling some stuff. I'll take your number, and when the time's right, I'll give you a call and you can buy it. We'll sell you the Travelall. I got a bunch of parts for it and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, no problem. And just left my name and number. And about 18 months later, he called me. He said, hey, Dad passed away about 6 months ago, and we're kind of starting to get rid of everything now and clean everything up. And if you're still interested in the Travelall, come on out and I'll make you a deal on it. I was like, okay. So I went over to look at it. Great truck, ran and drove, nice half-ton 4-wheel drive Travelall, nice piece. And I said, cool. I said, I'll take it. We agreed on price and everything, and I was getting ready to load it up. He's like, oh, there's one hitch. And I was like, what's the hitch? He's like, I got a bunch of spare parts for it that go with it, and you got to take everything. And I was like, okay, no problem.
Twist my arm.
So we walk in
For the same amount of money?
For the same amount of money.
Okay.
So we walk in the barn, and this is sitting in the barn with no hood, no drivetrain, no axles on 4 round firewood stumps. He goes, your part of your deal is you got to get that out of here.
This is your spare part.
This is your and the bed had a few miscellaneous things, but this was the spare part. And it had a title.
And you're like, wait, don't show too much emotion.
Don't show any emotion. I just paid the man. I loaded the travel all. So anyway, we had to get creative. I had to put an axle under the back, put some U-bolts on it. The front was leaf sprung, so we just skidded onto the trailer like skis with little dish plates and stuff. So we got it on the trailer, but yeah. So this was the spare parts that I had to take. Well,
darn, right?
Fast forward 8 years, because 2 years ago we did the suspensions when I started working on this. 8 years later, we are down in Southern Oregon for my son's soccer tournament. And anytime we go out of town, I always take my pickup and I take the trailer because we're gonna spend the night and I'm gonna be on Craigslist. So, and so I get on Craigslist and there's 2 travel alls for sale. One's a parts rig, one's almost a runner. So I go, let's go look at those. So we go look at them. It was the same year as this truck. It was the same color hood, I thought. And it was almost a runner, and the parts truck was not really worth taking, but he had a cab. So I bought the cab and I bought the travel all. Got it home, unbolted the hood off the travel all, bolted it on here, shut the hood, washed it, and I was like, you couldn't match that patina anywhere in your life ever if you thought you could, and nobody will believe this hood didn't come on this truck. And it did not come on this truck. It came on a travel all from a vehicle that lived 5 states away from where this truck was originally.
That's nuts.
So I put the hood on, I put another hood on the other travel all that didn't match, made it run and drive, sold that travel all, and the hood went on this, and then as soon as I put the hood on, I started blowing the truck apart and started working on it. Because I couldn't bring myself to put a hood on it and just flat black the hood, because that was the other option. I wanted to have this thing as a patina truck. Look where the patina is, the little rough spots on the corners, the edges, the fade.
Yeah,
It's perfect. You can't tell.
No, nobody believes me
Like
that it's not the original
even these
hood.
little bit of scratches here like match the.
Nobody believes me. So good family friends of mine owned the International Harvester dealership in Missoula, Montana. But anyway, they'd had the dealership forever and ever. When my buddy was a young kid, I mean we were little kids in the 70s, this old boy came in and ordered this travel all for his wife. And this travel all has everything. It's got wood paneling, it's got deluxe molding, it's barn door, it's big block, it's automatic, it's got AC, it's got everything. But it's half ton, not 3/4 ton. And he came in October, November of the end of the year, got paid out for his hay season, had his big stack of money, he was coming in. They told him his truck was there, he was coming in to pay for it. They'd ordered it, so the line set ticket and all the paperwork had his name on it because it was built for him, basically. And he came in to pick it up. And the day he came to pick it up was the day that they were unloading off the car hauler trailer. They had this and a couple Scouts and some pickups. They were unloading everything. Well, this was on the trailer, and one of those was on the trailer. And he came in, he saw this, and he saw that, and he saw this, and he looked at my buddy's dad, and he goes, whatever you need to do to make that work, he's like, we don't need that, we need that. He's like, well, we ordered this for you, you own it. Like, it's already titled, it's plated, like it's in your name. Like they had the plates and everything for him and all that stuff like that. He's like, I don't care. He's like, take it on trade, take it as a demo, unwind the deal, whatever you need to do.
Yeah,
he's like,
I don't want this.
I'm leaving with that, and you guys can own this.
Thank you.
Well, then it's November. It's about ready to start snowing and stuff like that. This is a half-ton truck. It's not as sellable for them because it's not a 3/4 ton. It's green and whatever. So my buddy's dad's like, what are we going to do with this? And my friend, Todd, he's like, we'll just put it on the lot as a demo. It's got 24 miles on it or whatever. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to take that big a hit because it's been titled. Now it's technically used truck with 24 miles on it, And he's like, all right, well, let's take it down to the plow dealership. He goes, throw a plow on it. We'll plow snow with it this winter. And we'll take the plow off in the spring, and then we'll sell it as a demo with 2,000 miles on it. And then we can ride it down.
Yeah.
The original plates that expired in 1974 are still on the truck. And the dealer plate was covering those that they took off in 2010. And they ran it for 45 years and put 42,000 miles on it and left the plow on it. But basically, I bought a plow and they gave me the travel all with it. And now it plows snow here just like it did for the last 45 years at my shop. It has for the last 12 years.
Maybe it wasn't back then, but it's a cool color now.
It was a hard sell for them back then.
Yeah.
It was a full load, but it was a half. Hey.
And there's the original plate. Expired Montana 74.
And it's been in 4 low 4-wheel drive ever since. I've never had a 4-wheel drive.
Its whole life.
The hub's been turned in the day I bought it. It only gets 20, 30, 50 miles a year.
There we go.
Chloride on them, so they got a little bit of rust. But one day, one of the tailpipes fell off. My buddy Todd, who glass packed and turned the pipes out right in front of the tires in the back, and it's got straight glass packs on. So it's loud as hell, but it's funny. So, and that plow is 1973.
It's cool.
It's pretty cool though.
That's crazy because the plow just looks like it's.
Did you see the tag on the license plate on the back? Expired in 74.
I did. I got a real good close-up shot of that.
So, and then this, the number on Montana plates, that's the county number. 4 is Missoula County. So that's how you know that it is legit the plate from there, from that county, from that area. But I can buy one just like it and make it the same. I could make the truck again. I know exactly what everything is, and it's not hard.
What was it?
It was a 71, so 1 year only, waffle stamp grill, travel all, half-ton 2-wheel drive with the factory wood paneling. It was harvest gold with green interior, and it had bucket seats and everything.
Nice.
The big block automatic AC. It had the trailer package because we had the overloads and stuff like that. But it was 2-wheel drive. We went to Yellowstone, we went to Glacier, we went everywhere in that thing. So there he is.
What's up?
Hey.
What's going on?
So you
What's up?
What's up, Seth?
What's up, man? How you been? Good. Good.
Good. How about you?
Good.
I thought you had a gate to keep hippies out.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
He unfortunately knows the
What's
county.
up, man? How are you?
Oh, dude, I'm doing nothing.
You ready for the weekend yet?
No,
Yeah, us neither.
not at all. I'm not done packing. The whole camping part. I got a lot of food stuff to prep, and yeah, it's kind of a shit show, but whatever.
And I roll in this little town. It's called Twin Bridges. And just like I usually do, I'm out picking, just driving around looking for old junk to buy, on a Saturday afternoon. Roll into the convenience store, and they're in town, and here's this travel all, and it's got the old Q78 buckshots with wagon white steel wheels. It's got a little lift on it, so they're like 36-inch buckshots or whatever they were back then, the Q78. It's got a red door, it's got a blue door, it's got a brown fender, it's got dents and scratches, and it's got mud up and down both sides. I mean, there ain't a straight panel on it. It's running, the heater's on, there's 2 blue heelers in it barking at me, going crazy, and there's about a 300 score bull elk dead on the roof, strapped down with rope. In the back, there's camping gear, there's a chainsaw, his guns are in the gun rack, and I'm just like, but the truck,
This guy's got it going on.
yeah, the thing is badass. Like, I'm just looking at it going, and it instantly triggered a memory. Like, I hadn't thought about internationals for 30 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
And triggered this memory back to when I'm a kid. And this old boy comes walking out, and I was a little intimidated because he's about 6'6", 6'7", about 330. He's wearing bib overalls with a flannel shirt, and he's got blood all up and down him from cutting the elk up and all stuff like that and hauling it onto his truck. And he comes out, and I just kind of like, hey, is that your travel? Yeah. And he starts talking and starts telling me stories. And I said, oh, my name's Ben. Nice to meet you. And I put my hand out, and he grabs my hand. And, he's got just big old mitts. And he grabbed like a handshake like a farmer does, right, where it's a real firm handshake. But what was different about him is he's from that old school where he grabbed my hand, and he pulled me in. He goes, nice to meet you. And I'm like this fucking close to the guy. And he's this tall. And I'm staring, I'm smelling elk blood everywhere, and mud and dirt. You could tell he slept in the truck for the last 5 days while he's hunting this elk. And anyway, so it was a very vivid memory that will never go away. And that was 15, 18 years ago.
Damn.
And so the next day, I'm on Craigslist. And I'm like, I gotta buy travel all, And I was like, started looking around, and it just kind of trickled into that. Then I moved here, and then it just blossomed. So
Yeah.
and what I like is I love Ford, Chevy, and Dodges. I love seeing all the beautiful C10s and the old bump
This is
sides.
different though. Nobody does this.
Nobody does these. And every time I go to Cars and Coffee, I got the only one, and I like that.